is my great pleasure to introduce the Hon Gerard Maley, Deputy Chief Minister for the Northern Territory and the Minister for Agriculture. Please make the Minister welcome.
Well, thank you and good morning everyone, and thank you for inviting me here today. The Administrator, David Connolly, and his partner, Sue Brosnan, thank you for coming. The President, Henry Burke, thank you for those kind words, and of course, Romy Carey, for the work you do. It doesn't go unnoticed of how important your work is right across the Northern Territory. And I just noticed Minister Cale's also here. Thank you for coming in, because it's important to show that this government supports the cattle industry. It's a privilege to be here today. But before I start, I just want to acknowledge that the past few weeks have been very difficult for this industry right across the Northern Territory, from the floods in Alice Springs to the recent events in Katherine and the looming cyclone that may hit us in the next few days. Flooding across the Northern Territory has a real impact on pastoral businesses, the families and the communities associated with that. And I know for many of you the clean-up is still ongoing, and the road ahead is uncertain, and the pressure has been immense. Unfortunately now we've got Cyclone Narelle coming as well, so we don't know what's going to happen. But what we can say is this government is keen to support and continue to support the cattle industry and pastoralists right across the Northern Territory. I just want everyone to stay safe and prepare, and we'll see what happens over the next week or so. We recognise that you have been through a tough period, and we stand with you in this uncertain times. We also acknowledge that due to the conflict in the Middle East, the cost of fuel and fertiliser is also a concern, not just for you, but also for your supply chains. The Chief Minister is having conversations with the Prime Minister at National Cabinet of what can be done. But gatherings like this conference also remind us of something important about the pastoral industry in the Northern Territory. They remind us of the resilience, the innovation and the determination that define producers right across the Northern Territory. This has certainly been a significant wet season right across the Territory, and while good seasons bring opportunity, we also know they'll bring their challenges. That is why this conference's theme, Better on Beef, is such a fitting one, because it captures exactly where our government focus lies, backing the pastoral industry to be stronger, more productive and connected to market. Whether that be through research, market access, biosecurity, regulation reform or infrastructure, our job is to support the growth of your industry, reduce barriers and position the NT beef as a premium product, and we are committed to doing just that. 2026 is about delivering growth, certainty and security off the back of 2025 that laid out a foundation for our work ahead. In 2025, we adjusted payroll tax for small and medium businesses. We started delivering the 48 of the 70 recommendations from our approvals fast-track task force report, and they're on track to be delivered by July this year. We modernised procurement and appointed long-term local Tom Harris as the Territory Procurement Champion. We abolished third-party merit reviews in the Planning, Water and Petroleum Acts. We stopped taxpayers from funding the Environmental Defenders Office and giving the money to Landcare instead. We amended the Sacred Sites Act to allow the transfer of authority certificates between parties. All these things we believe will help the industry and help the Northern Territory and bring that certainty that Henry was talking about earlier. Rebuilding the economy is a crucial part of our mission, and we see the agriculture sector as an increasingly important part of the Territory story. 12 months ago, I addressed you at the same conference and outlined what our priorities are for the future. And at that time, many of you were very clear about the issues that mattered to you most. We spoke about buffel grass. We spoke about the conditions of our roads. You talked about making better use of our research farms. You stressed the importance of live export trade. And you reminded us how critical strong biosecurity is to protecting the industry. We know the last few weeks have been hard, and the extent of the loss and damage resulting from these recent weather events is widespread and continuing. I've had many conversations with producers and heard so many heartbreaking stories. Properties inundated with water, road access locks, stock has been lost, and significant damage to station homes and infrastructure, and the full extent remains unknown. We know that this industry brings to the Northern Territory economy, and we will stand with you in this hard time. Recovery will take time, but we are committed to standing alongside the industry and regional communities throughout that process. Just recently, the Chief Minister announced a $100 million flood recovery fund that has been announced, which will prioritise rebuilding roads and bridges, flood mitigation works, helping restore essential infrastructure and strengthen communities against flooding. This is on top of the work that the departments are already doing. This is over and above the business as usual for the government. Pastoral rent relief has also become available, which means every pastoral leaseholder is eligible to apply to a rent relief under our new policy. Those who have been doing it tough can have clear and practical support. We've made that process easier. Hardship can look different across every station, from damaged fencing to loss of access, operational disruption, and or financial strain. To support this, the rent relief policy provides a structured, two-tiered approach to ensure applications are assessed fairly and based on individual circumstances. The approach ensures hardship is properly considered on a case-by-case basis. This is about recognising that no two stations are the same and no two situations are the same. We want pastoralists focused on getting back on their feet and keeping their businesses running. If you do need some help, don't hesitate to reach out. Amelia Bella, can you stand up? She's the CEO of the department. So if you see her wandering around, go and talk to her or her team. We're here to help. And it's important that we offer as much support as we possibly can through these trying times. You may have heard the news about now there is a buffel grass weed management plan. However, what this means to you is business as usual. The management plan allows pastoralists to continue to manage buffel through grazing of cattle. Permits will be required, however, this will be managed through my department and there will be no administrative burden to you. If you do have any further questions about the buffer grass over this conference, again, reach out to the department, reach out to Amelia, and we're happy to help you to inform. But I can stress it's going to be business as usual. We've heard loud and clear about the state of our roads, and we're working with Minister Yan on upgrading critical infrastructure. Our government has allocated repairs and maintenance funding in this year of $88 million, representing a $2.9 million increase in last year's budget. This includes $36 million allocated towards beef roads, which have been identified in consultation with the NT Cattlemen's Association. There's also a capital and minor works program which has been allocated in this year's budget. Some $867 million towards roads, supporting reliability, resilience of cattle supply chains and broader economic development right across the Northern Territory. Key upgrades commitments to include strengthening and widening existing roads and extending seals on priority beef roads. We've heard feedback and action on our research farms. The department is exploring all possible ways to help support operational costs while continuing delivering world-class research. The research farm strategy has been delivered. An independent consultation with Bush Agribusiness is providing further input. The NTCA and Regional Beef Research Advisory Council has also been engaged in relation to this process, and the final report is due in early April this year. We'll hopefully be able to make sure that the research farms are better for you and produce research which you can use day in, day out. We continue backing the live export industry, and this has not changed. And in fact, last year I travelled to Indonesia myself to strengthen our ties with our Asian counterparts. And I'll touch on this later in my speech. And of course, we are still taking biosecurity just as seriously to ensure we keep our emergency animal diseases out of this country. Since being elected in 2024, we have got on the business of backing the industry and cutting red tape. We have transferred the pastoral land management functions to my department, and an historic backlog of pastoral development applications has been cleared. The average processing time for a development application has been reduced from approximately 10.5 months down to 3 months. When we came into power, we were told this significant backlog and delays were costing you time and money. And we looked into this and we made changes. We've added 2 new members, Amber Driver of Akita Station and also Val Dyer of Hayfield, both who bring valuable first-hand experience to that board. People have real practical experience of what it takes to operate a cattle station in the Northern Territory. This aligns with our goal to include people who live and breathe the realities of the land, enabling them to drive meaningful change and offer informed, practical advice. In 2025, the Pastoral Land Board granted 19 permits for development, compared with 5 in 24 and 4 in 2023. In that same year, over 37,000 hectares of development was approved, and that's more than the previous 3 years combined, totalling 26,000 hectares across the 22 to 24 financial years. We will continue to support the Pastoral Land Board with the resourcing it needs to maintain and improve timeframes and deliver consistent, high outcomes decisions. Research and development and extension is another clear priority. My department is currently delivering on more than 30 research, development and extension projects for the pastoral industry. These projects cover everything from cattle management, genetics, nutrition, to animal health, pasture science and rangeland management. We're always looking for new ideas and new ways to make these farms relevant to you. So if you do have any ideas, please reach out to the department. We're more keen to negotiate and talk with you about what we can do to make those research farms more practical. And importantly, we're making sure the knowledge generated through the work gets out into the hands of producers, out into the pastoralists. There's no point having all the research and not giving it to the people who use it and the people who need it day in, day out. Traceability and animal health remain essential to maintaining confidence in our cattle. The NT government continues to support cattle traceability through clear provenance systems and strong animal health monitoring. We're working with pastoralists and governments through programs such as the National Airborne Monitoring Program and the Tick Control Program. As I touched on earlier, the NT government continues to support the cattle industry through its 5 research facilities at Old Man Plains, Victoria River, Katherine, Douglas Daly and Beatrice Hill. In 2026 marks 80 years of agricultural research and development in the Big River regions. To mark this milestone, the Katherine Research Station is hosting an open day on the 13th of June and invite you all to come along. I acknowledge that the Katherine Research Station has been impacted by the recent floods, and I want to thank everyone who helped get it back on its feet. I've been speaking to the Katherine Pastorals Industry Advisory Committee President, Jay Morabell, and I've heard firsthand of what has occurred. And I thank Jay and the committee in guiding me and the department on industry issues and research priorities in Katherine. I'd also like to acknowledge Alan Andrews for his long-standing commitment to the Katherine pastoral industry, including serving as chairman from 1995 to 1998. I was blown away by the interest and the number of applications received for round 2 of the agricultural value add grants this year. We received 53 applications across all regions and major agriculture sectors, with grants of up to $50,000 available. 8 NT businesses were awarded some $258,000, supporting over $830,000 in total investments. An example of these projects were the Hay River Cattle Cove $50,000 development for road train weighbridge at Henbury Station, and also Rumjungle Meat Exports to upgrading their kill floor. I also look forward to seeing how these projects strengthen and value add capability for Territory's cattle and beef supply chain. The great work also continues in plant industries. Department researchers are working with the industry and the CDU on cotton industry development in the Northern Territory. We know it's been a hard year for broadacre crops, but we maintain our commitment to sustainable cropping that supports the livestock sector. We know that cotton needs water and sunshine, and this year it seems we've had too much water and not enough sunshine. Who would have thought that would happen here in the Northern Territory? We have had another year of strong focus on biosecurity with strong measures in place and recent events highlighting that clearly. Only a couple of months ago we heard about the detection of lumpy skin disease in barley. While not unexpected, this is a concern for the cattle industry, government and biosecurity in general. I want to thank the NT Cattlemen's Association and the Live Export Association for working closely with our department to review our risk settings following that detection. Last year in May, we convened Exercise Raintree together with industry, and from the northern jurisdiction, it focused on a lumpy skin outbreak in the NT-WA area and tested our ability to work together and mobilise our resources in relation to that event. There are a number of recommendations from that exercise, and we're working our way through them this year with the industry. Live export remains a cornerstone of the Northern Territory parcel industry, and this year is very much the economic opportunity for the Northern Territory. This year we delivered a 10-year high for live cattle exports through the Port of Darwin, exceeding 440,000 head of cattle. Indonesia is the NT's largest and most important live export market. Indonesia's domestic beef production currently meets less than half of the national demand, leaving a significant gap in supply. At the same time, programs such as Indonesia's Nutritious Meals programs, which is targeted more than 80 million participants and reaching demand and increasing demand for protein, including our beef. In other words, the demand for Northern Territory cattle is strong and growing. In October last year, I led a delegation to Indonesia with President Henry Burke and Romy Carey and NT Live Exporters Association, Patrick Moran, and Vice Chairman Patrick Underwood. I met with Indonesia's Director General of Livestock, and Indonesian Feedlot Association, and the Australian Ambassador to Indonesia. I visited a number of feedlots in Indonesia to see firsthand our cattle, how that works in Indonesia. We also saw NT buffalo unloaded on the day and heard the opportunities these buffalo bring for Indonesia and also for the Northern Territory. I'd like to thank Pat and Patrick for helping me and do that delegation and their input into how that worked out. Following the trip to Indonesia, I hosted the Indonesian Ambassador to Australia and Ministerial Expert on live export development in the NT in December. They visited the export yards in Berrima and the Douglas Daly Research Farm and expressed a strong interest in NT's cattle breeding techniques and capabilities. That engagement has already led to discussions about potential research partnerships and exchange programs, something the department is actively working towards. Let me say this clearly, the NT government remains a strong supporter of the live export trade. Live export underpins the NT sector and is critical to regions and also economical jobs and also the livelihood right across the Northern Territory. It is essential that the federal government understand how important live exports are to the Northern Territory, and we will keep flying the flag high as possible. We will continue to push for live export class action results, and will continue to advocate in Canberra for policy settings that protect and support the live industry trade. We're always looking for new markets and valuating in the Northern Territory and its markets. At the same time, we are working to diversify markets and build new value-adding opportunities right across Australia and, of course, to the north. One of the new emerging markets is processed beef in Malaysia. Last year, I hosted officials from Malaysia, agricultural industry and food security, and we visited Romgungal abattoirs together with that Malaysian delegation. The NT has continued to engage directly with Malaysia to gain access and use NT beef into their markets. Last year, my colleague Minister Carl attended the opening of Top End Beef in Bali, a joint venture between Catherine Cattleman Scott Riggs and Indonesian feedlotter. And this business is a butcher shop and a steakhouse in Indonesia selling NT beef. This engagement supports the development of trade and increased market diversification for NT producers. Because the pastoral sector is more than just an industry, it's a cornerstone of our economy. It's central to our identity. And I think it's fair to say over the last few months, you really deserve a few cold drinks tonight. Thank you.